Welcome to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive.
Today we are heading straight into the clouds, literally.
We're talking about the aerial battle, the high ball, and the massive debate that has been raging in World Rugby about the escort ban.
It is, arguably the most contentious tactical shift we have seen in years, maybe since the breakdown laws were tweaked.
Oh, for sure. It's changing how the game looks, how it's played, and honestly, how much yelling happens at the TV screen on a weekend.
A lot of yelling.
Yeah.
So we're unpacking why World Rugby decided to outlaw those tactics.
Exactly. The escort, the glove, the shepherd, whatever you want to call it. That move where teammates basically form a human shield around the catcher.
It's gone. And people have some very strong feelings about it.
Strong is probably an understatement. And to guide us through this, we've got some incredible source material today.
We do. We're not just looking at the rule book. We're looking at a fascinating discussion from the Springboks coaching team themselves. We've got insights from Rassie Erasmus, Ms. Wandale Stick, Felix Jones,
And Dine Human. This all comes from a report by Planet Rugby on a recent Rassie Plus podcast, so we are getting it straight from the world champions.
which is just gold dust.
Yeah.
I mean, getting inside the box war room on a tactical point like this,
It's so rare. They usually keep this stuff under lock and key.
and their take is surprising. Because while a lot of the Northern Hemisphere coaches are, tearing their hair out, the South Africans are actually arguing this is saving the spirit of rugby.
That is a bold claim, especially given how messy it can look right now. But before we kick off and get into the nitty-gritty, make sure you subscribe to Rugby Obsession so you never miss an update.
Right, hit that button. So let's set the stage. Why is this such a big deal? Why is everyone talking about guys jumping for a ball?
Well, if you've been watching the Six Nations or the Premiership, you know there's been a lot of grumbling. You have Steve Borthwick, the England coach, saying he doesn't want rugby union to turn into...
Aussie rules.
Exactly, Aussie rules. He's worried about it just becoming a jumping contest.
Spectacular, maybe, but not really rugby in the traditional sense where you work for the space.
For sure. And then you've got the Irish camp. Tad Byrne and Mike Prendergast have been pretty vocal.
Yeah, they're claiming it's causing too many stoppages. Byrne even called the aerial contest a sauced fight.
Which is very direct. Their argument is that it just creates knock-ons, it's messy, and it doesn't really help the attack flow.
It just looks like chaos compared to the clean catches we were used to.
But then you look at the Springboks, and this is a team that, they famously used the kicking game to win 2 World Cups.
Back to back, they benefited from the old rules more than anyone.
But now they're saying World Rugby is going in the right direction.
And that's our mission for this deep dive, to unpack why. Because on paper, the ban seems to make things messier. But Rassie and his team say it's about 3 things: safety, the spirit of the game, and the World Rugby Charter.
Okay, let's get into it. First, for anyone who might be new to these tactical weeds, what exactly was escorting?
So picture this. High ball goes up. In the past, the catcher, the fullback or winger, he's got his eyes on the ball, but he's not alone.
Right.
2 or 3 of his teammates, usually big forwards, would sort of retreat and park themselves right in front of him.
A wall, basically.
A human wall.
Yeah.
And here's the key. They wouldn't look at the ball. They'd look at the chasers from the other team.
So they're just running interference like bouncers at a club.
That's the perfect analogy. You're not getting in. They block the chaser's path so the catcher gets a totally uncontested take. That was the glove.
And now that's illegal. But here's a technical point I found really interesting from the source material. Jocko Paper, the former ref, says this isn't actually a new law.
Yeah, that's a huge distinction to make. Pepper points out this is a reapplication of an existing law. Technically, those escorts were always offside.
Wait, always.
Always. If you're in front of the kicker and you interfere with play, which blocking a chaser definitely is, you're liable to be penalized.
So World Rugby didn't write a new rule. They just sent a memo saying, hey, enforce the rule that's already there.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating. So the critics, like Borthwick, are saying this leads to a mess. Ross Byrne from Gloucester worried that locks would become wingers.
Right, the fear that it's just a lottery now. But this is where it gets really interesting. The box turn the safety argument completely on its head.
They do.
Normally you'd think, okay, if I protect my catcher with blockers, he's safer. He's not getting smashed in the air.
That's the intuitive assumption. It feels safer. But Ms. Wandale, stick the box assistant coach, and an expert on this stuff, says the data shows the exact opposite.
This blew my mind. He claims he's seen fewer major injuries in the last 2 years. How does that work? How is a collision safer than a protected catch?
It comes down to the mechanics of it all. Stick argues the danger wasn't actually the main contest, the catcher versus the chaser. The danger was the third party, the escort, the bouncer.
The blocker.
Right. Think about the physics. You have a chaser running at full speed, looking up. He's totally focused on the ball's flight path. Then suddenly, a blocker steps into his lane.
He doesn't see him coming. He has nowhere to go.
Exactly. He trips, flips over the blocker, lands on his head, or, even worse, he cannons off the blocker and flies uncontrollably into the catcher's legs while the catcher's in midair.
So the blocker was adding this completely unpredictable variable.
It turned a contest into a car crash. Stick says by removing that blocker, you've cleaned it up. Now it's just two players, both looking at the ball, both timing their jump.
It removes the blindside hit.
And it forces players to focus on real technique. He says they now have to teach players to keep their eyes on the ball, shorten their steps. It's about skill, not just obstruction.
So it's safer because it's simpler. I can see that. Which brings us to the philosophical side. Rassie and his team kept mentioning the World Rugby Charter.
This is fascinating. It shows they're not just thinking about tactics, but the constitution of the sport.
And the charter talks about the contest for possession, right?
It does, explicitly. Erasmus's whole philosophy is simple. Once that ball is kicked, it belongs to nobody.
It is nobody's ball. I love that phrasing.
It's the core of his argument. He says, he has got a fair chance, I have got a fair chance. A 50-50 contest. When you use escorts, you're rigging it.
You're removing the contest.
Exactly. So in Rassie's view, it was basically cheating the spirit of the game.
Anti-rugby.
Stick makes a great comparison to the lineout. Think about it. You can't just put a prop in front of your jumper to block the other team, can you?
No way. It's an immediate penalty. You have to leave a gap.
So that's their logic. If you can't block in a lineout, why should you be allowed to block in open play? It reframes the whole argument from it's messy to it's fair.
The messiness is the fairness, because people are actually fighting for it. It does. And speaking of the flow of the game, I want to take a quick pause here. If you're enjoying this breakdown of the game we love, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for Rugby Obsession right now. It really helps us keep bringing you these deep dives.
So we've covered safety and philosophy, but let's talk about entertainment. Because let's be honest, we all suffered through games of kicking tennis.
Painful memories. The ball just going back and forth and the crowd groaning.
Absolutely. And this is where Felix Jones, another Bulk assistant, brings up a really damning example. He referenced a clip from the 2022 Premiership Final.
I remember hearing about this, a sequence that just would not end.
He said it lasted over 2.5 minutes, just kicking.
2.5 minutes? That is an eternity in rugby. You could make a cup of tea.
And neither team held the ball for more than 2 phases. It was catch, 1 ruck, box kick. Catch, 1 ruck, box kick.
But why? Why didn't anyone just run it?
Because of the glove. The defensive team knew they couldn't get to the catcher. The catch was guaranteed. So the defense just fans out, waits, and retreats. It was totally predictable.
Risk-free rugby.
Exactly. Jones calls it boring rugby. And how does the ban change that? He argues the contest now breaks the game.
Breaks the game. That sounds bad.
In a good way, it breaks the rhythm. Now, if you kick, you can't guarantee you'll get it back. There's going to be a collision. The ball might spill loose.
It forces a chaotic moment.
It kills the stalemate. You can't just play tennis anymore because every time that ball goes up, there's a legitimate chance of a turnover.
And chaos is where tries come from.
That's it. Structure is safe, but chaos is where the excitement is. Jacko Paper makes the point that even though teams still kick a lot, they are now contestable kicks.
Right. You're attacking with the kick, not just handing over possession.
It brings some variability back into a game that was getting way too structured.
Now, I want to circle back to that comment about locks becoming wingers, the worry that this just favors the Giants.
The inclusivity argument, yeah. And again, Erasmus and Stick have a really clever rebuttal.
Go on.
Well, Erasmus says the old way, with escorts, actually let you hide a player's deficiencies. You could pick a small fullback who isn't great in the air because you just hide him behind 2 big forwards.
So the blockers were a crush. They were masking a lack of height or jumping ability.
Exactly. Erasmus says by banning them, you're letting physical attributes matter again. A tall, lanky fullback should have an advantage in the air. That's his superpower.
That is true. We always say there's a position for everyone in rugby.
Right. The prop has his power, the winger has his speed. If you neutralize the tall guy's advantage by letting a prop block for him, you're going against that shapes and sizes ethos.
So now if you're a small winger, you better be fast or have great technique. If you're a tall fullback, you use your height. The game is honest.
You can't hide anymore. Stick concludes that we are going in the right direction.
It's a really compelling case. I mean, what stands out to me is that the Springboks could have been the ones complaining. They won 2 World Cups using escorts heavily.
That's the most impressive part. Instead of moaning about a rule change that hurts their old strategy, they evolved.
And mastered the chaos. Eddie Jones said recently the Boks are now 50% better than any other team under the high ball.
50%. That is a massive margin. It shows they embrace the change while some of their rivals are still complaining about the Sickers fight.
It really is a lesson in mindset. While some teams see a mess, South Africa sees an opportunity.
And they believe the game is healthier for it. Safer, fairer, and more exciting.
It's hard to argue with that logic, but I know it's still a polarizing topic for fans. For some, seeing the ball hit the deck just looks messy.
It absolutely is. We are in a transition period. As skills improve, we might see some of the most spectacular aerial takes in history.
So let's turn this over to you, the listener. We've heard the case from Rassie Erasmus. They say the aerial contest is safer, fairer, and more exciting.
But do you agree? Or do you side with the coaches who feel it's becoming too much like Aussie rules and just interrupting the flow?
We really want to know what you think. Does the chaos add drama, or does it ruin the structure? Let us know in the comments. We read all of them.
And just to wrap up, the final takeaway here is that World Rugby is very unlikely to go back. As Stick said, to go back would be to reintroduce a safety risk and violate the charter.
So whether we like it or not, the aerial battle is here to stay. The teams that adapt, like the Springboks, will thrive.
And the ones that don't will be left complaining in the press conference.
That's the brutal reality of elite sport. Well, that brings us to the end of this deep dive. It's fascinating how a small law tweak can affect safety, strategy, and even the philosophy of the sport.
It really is. It's never just about the rule, is it?
Please make sure to subscribe to Rugby Obsession to keep up with all future deep dives. We have some great topics coming up, so you won't want to miss those.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for listening to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive, and we'll look forward to you listening to our next episode.